Hello buddies, welcome to game night. Tonight we'll be going through all the injuries that you can obtain in Mordheim, City of the Damned. I've taken my demon bait warband out and brought them into battle only to make them flee and get beaten up. This is all in the name of science, of course, so that we can get this wonderful list of injuries that are currently in the game. First of all, when you have a warrior going out of action, it has a cost. That cost is due to the warrior being left behind during the rout. The warrior will return to the warband, but some equipment may be left behind. Or you may be lucky and get a fortunate return. Even through the horrors of Mordheim, the warrior has managed to return safely and without losing additional equipment. After that, the roll for injuries comes up. The best roll, of course, is full recovery. Recovery time 0 days. The warrior suffers only slight bruises and scrapes, with hardly even a scar as a memory of its wounds. Light wound. Recovery time 2 days. The warrior suffers from a flesh wound that takes a little time to recuperate from. This is the second after the full recovery. You don't get any permanent injuries, which is pretty cool. But you still have to wait 2 days. Deep wound. Recovery time 5 days. The warrior has suffered a grievous wound, but over time makes a miraculous recovery. Again, a bit worse than light wound, but still no permanent injuries. 5 days is a long time, so if it happens on a leader or one of your heroes, it can really take the money out of your pocket. Here you can see an example of a warrior that rolled several injuries. The first one is near-death experience. Recovery time 5 days. Almost at death's door, the warrior astonishingly manages to survive and pull through. It gains an experience point from this amazing feat of survival. It's one experience point, that's not really a lot, but it's still better than getting the deep wound. So that is probably one of the better injuries should you roll an injury. Severed arm. Recovery time 5 days. The warrior's left arm was dismembered in battle or so badly damaged that it had to be amputated. The warrior can no longer climb or use a two-handed weapon. However, the warrior gains 20% dodge bonus due to his newfound balance. Severed arm is really horrible, and you won't be able to use any shields, so if you have spec'd a parry warrior, that will be a death sentence for him. Also, if you happen to lose your right arm in another injury, the warrior will be sent away. Broken jaw. Recovery time 3 days. The warrior's jaw has been shattered, resulting in impaired speech. The injury reduces leadership and maximum leadership by 1 and spellcasting chances by 5%. That's a horrible one to get on a magister, to be honest. Because the spellcasting chance is crippling for a wizard. And the maximum leadership, well, it reduces your ability to stay in the fight longer, and you may be speccing him to be some kind of support via the skills in that line, so that is kinda nasty. Burst eardrum. Recovery time 3 days. One of the warrior's eardrums has burst, leaving it half deaf. Perception checks made with this warrior suffers a 25% penalty. This is not the worst injury in my opinion. The perception checks are not something you use all the time. So having one warrior with a burst eardrum is not a problem. The worst part here is the 3-day wait to get him back in action. Amnesia. Recovery time not available. A sharp blow to the head has forked the warrior's memory. The warrior loses up to 5 XP of their current rank progression. That is horrible. I hate that one. You don't have any recovery time, but you lose almost all your progression, or at least up to 5 experience. That is 1 or 2 missions in most regards. Brain trauma. Recovery time 3 days. Trauma to the head has impaired the warrior's mental faculties. Intelligence and maximum intelligence are both reduced by 1 as a result of brain damage. Not as bad as it seems. It reduces, of course, magic damage on casters, but all the rest, the intelligence is basically used to get some of the skills, of course, in that line, so it should be okay. Tendinitis. Recovery time 3 days. The warrior suffers from tendinitis in the wrists. This injury reduces strength and maximum strength by 1. Now this injury is horrible for a melee unit, but still can be overcome because it is a reduction in their ability to deal damage. But then again, if you do have high damage already, high strength already, you wouldn't really dismiss this person. A warrior that is an archer, ranged, or a mage wouldn't really have any problem with having this injury. Impacted vision. Recovery time 3 days. Damage to the eyes has impaired the warrior's vision. The warrior's weapon and ballistic skill, as well as their maximums, are reduced by 1 because of poor eyesight. This is a bit worse, I think, because it does reduce their weapon and ballistic skills. So if you have someone like the Skaven that can actually utilize both kinds of weapons on one warrior at times, it can really hinder that warrior greatly. But still, it's 1 point. Over time, if you get even more of these, it could get worse. Skull fracture. Recovery time 5 days. Mental condition. A skull wound has left the warrior stupid, sometimes forgetting what it must do. If not engaged in melee, the warrior must pass an intelligence test or do nothing for the turn. This injury is a death sentence for almost all warriors. Unless you have a Skaven warband with a Grey Seer and no Rat Ogre, and it's a very valuable player or warrior, and you want to keep him, then use the guide on him. But spending skill points, money and time for getting guide that will reduce one of your warriors' movement by 3 pills each every second round is just, I mean, it needs to be a massive warrior that you use that on, or someone with a high intelligence test, intelligence to pass the test to keep him. So yeah, I would consider dumping that guy. Confusion. Recovery time 3 days. Mental damage causes the warrior to suffer random moments of confusion. This injury reduces alertness and maximum alertness by 1. Not really a big problem in my book. It reduces your initiative for the initiative ladder, and that is of course a bit of a bummer, but it shouldn't be that much of a problem. Twitch. Recovery time 3 days. Damage to the warrior's nervous system has left it with a pronounced and debilitating twitch. This injury reduces agility and its maximum by 1. Still only 1 point, it should be able to account for. Internal wound. Recovery time 4 days. The warrior has suffered internal damage and will never heal properly, and which exerts a persistent degree of pain. The warrior loses 1 offense point. This can be pretty breaking for a character, as that 1 offense point could mean 1 entire level in reduced efficiency. So that may be the time to replace this guy. All depending on how many offense points he has already. Severed leg, recovery time 5 days. The warrior's left leg was dismembered in battle or so badly damaged that it had to be amputated. Movement is now reduced by 1 meter and climbing is no longer possible. Leap and jump down chances is reduced by 25%. Although it looks cool and it has a piratey feel about it, this is a bad injury. The only reason to keep this guy is if he is a very high level character that you just used as a meat shield. Maimed hand, recovery time 4 days. The warrior has suffered a mutilating injury to its hand. The loss of dexterity causes the chance to hit with melee and ranged attacks to be reduced by 10%. 10% reduction to hit is a major blow to any character, unless you're a spellcaster, of course. Then this may not affect you that much unless you are built to do melee or range. Chest wound, recovery time 3 days. The warrior has suffered a grisly injury to the chest. Even after recovery, this wound leaves the warrior weakened, reducing its toughness and maximum toughness by 1. By all means, this is bad for everyone. Losing hit points is just never a fun thing. Mysterious ailment, recovery time 3 days. An unknown disease has beset the warrior, provoking a permanent fever. The warrior's base wound value is reduced by 10 as a result of this affliction. Again, reduction to wounds, and this may just be worse depending on how high a level character is hit by it. Concussion, recovery time 5 days. A brutal blow to the head has caused the warrior to suffer a concussion, causing it to sometimes be confused in battle. The warrior loses 1 strategy point. Again, losing strategy points or offense points is very bad. It sets back the warrior and can mean that the warrior doesn't function as it did before. Amok, recovery time not available. Mental condition. Suffering violent mental derangement, the warrior will never again disengage or flee from an enemy. The warrior will always fight to the very end. This is very circumstantial. No recovery time means that he can just walk into battle again, but losing the disengage or flee can be crippling for some builds. Not every build will suffer from this, and not every character will suffer from this, because you have, for instance, Cult of the Possessed, where most of their warriors actually already have this condition. So it wouldn't really affect those. This is a thing you need to weigh up. Is it going to hurt you more than it's going to benefit you? Megalomania. Recovery time not available. The warrior has developed a maniacal belief in its own might and power. From now on, it cannot use ranged weapons, and the cost of spells increases by 2 offense points. It is kinda in there. If you use a ranged weapon and get Megalomania, you're fired. If you are a spellcaster, you better be high level to be able to be kept in the warband, and they may start looking for a new replacement for you. Missing eye, recovery time 5 days. The warrior's right eye has been ruined. The warrior is effectively blind in this eye. A 10% penalty now applies to melee and ranged hit chance, but a bonus of 10% also applies to perception and 10 to initiative. This is not as bad as it may seem. You do get the reduction to hit as with the maimed hand, but you also get a bonus of 10% to perception and 10 to initiative. So it could be okay to keep this guy on. Old battle wound. Recovery time 3 days. Crippling damage to the warrior's nervous system has left it with recurring pains. This injury reduces accuracy and its maximum by 1. This will mostly affect those builds that are based on being a crit build. So in most situations you won't fire a warrior over an old battle wound. Dead. Recovery time not available. The wound suffered by the warrior during the battle has proven fatal. Any equipment belonging to the deceased warrior is returned to the warband's equipment reserve. That is kinda self-explanatory. If it dies, it dies. It joins the ranks of dead heroes in Mordheim. This has been all the injuries in Mordheim City of the Damned. If you enjoyed this video, why not hit that subscribe button top right there. You see it. Yeah, you see it. Now press. Thank you. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful game night. Cheers and stay cool. Jump down. This looks so impressive. So I've created this human mercenary team to be our demon bait. I'll run around a bit until I find the first one. And here we are. This would be the Chaos Ogre, which was just added